I was 16 years old at the time. I lived in Italy, and I was in my 4th year of high school. Every weekday morning, I took the same bus to school at exactly 7:20 a.m. At first, it felt like nothing more than a routine. The same stop, the same people, the same tired faces. After a few weeks, I started noticing a boy on the bus who looked familiar. I couldn't remember where I'd seen him before, but his face stood out to me. He looked older than me, maybe 17 or 18. He always wore a hat. He always wore a neck warmer that covered part of his face. And he looked at me far more often than felt normal. I didn't think much of it at first. When you take public transportation every day, you get used to seeing the same people. I assumed he was just another student with a similar schedule. I went home every day on the 1:30 p.m. bus, and he was often there too. That didn't seem strange either, because many students took that bus. Sometimes he would get off at the same stop as me, other times he wouldn't. To get to school, I had to take a bus and then a tram. Once a week, he would take the exact same route. The same bus, the same tram, both in the morning and on the way back. What confused me was that when I got off the tram near my school, he wouldn't always follow. Sometimes he stayed on. Other times he got off at a nearby stop and walked in the opposite direction from the school. It felt inconsistent, but I ignored it. The first real change happened when I decided to switch buses. The 7:20 bus made me arrive at school almost 15 minutes early every day. Eventually, I got tired of waiting around in the mornings, so I started taking the 7:40 bus instead. That way, I arrived exactly on time. The very first week I switched, he appeared at the 7:40 bus stop too. That alone made me uneasy, but I told myself it was probably coincidence. Schedules change, people adjust. Then something else changed. On Thursdays, I used to get out of school 1 hour earlier, which meant I could take the 1:30 p.m. bus home. That was the same bus he often took. Later in the year, our school schedule was changed. Instead of getting out early on Thursdays, I now had 1 less hour on Tuesdays. From that point on, every single Tuesday, he was there again. The same buses, the same timing, no other day of the week, only Tuesdays. He would get on the bus, glance at me briefly, then sit down and stare out the window. After a few minutes, he would take out his phone and send a message to someone. Then he would put it away and remain completely still. He never spoke. He never smiled. He never interacted with anyone. On Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, I never saw him at all. Only on the days my schedule matched his. That was when I started paying attention. Every morning he arrived at the bus stop from a different direction. One day from the left, another day from behind, another day from across the street. On the way back home, he always walked away in a completely different direction than the one he came from in the morning. There was no pattern I could understand, except one. He always arrived at the bus stop at the exact same time I did. Every single time, as soon as he arrived, he would look directly at me, then he would immediately look away. I also started noticing that he got on the bus from different stops, at least 5 different ones. Once, I was walking past a market shop on my way to the bus stop, and he walked out of it the exact moment I passed by. Another time, we arrived at the return bus stop at the exact same second. Like our paths had been timed. He carried a backpack, but it didn't look like a heavy school bag. It always looked mostly empty. Around the same time, something else started happening. My TikTok profile showed repeated views from the same account. The account had no profile picture, very few followers, and only a handful of people it followed. Most of them were random users and public figures. The account never interacted with my posts. It only watched. I never once saw the boy without his hat and neck warmer. When the warmer months arrived and people started dressing lighter, he disappeared. Completely. For months, there was no sign of him. On the very first day of the new school year, I saw him again. He appeared out of nowhere at the bus stop. This time, he was still wearing the hat, but not the neck warmer. He arrived, stopped, and slowly looked at everyone standing there, including me. Then he turned around and walked away from the bus stop entirely. From that day on, I never saw him again. I still don't know if he was actually following me. I don't know if he was just another student with an overlapping schedule, but I've never been able to forget how closely his routine mirrored mine, and how it stopped the moment I noticed it. Even now, I still think about how carefully everything lined up. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, unsettling one. I think about how many small choices I made without realizing someone else might have been adjusting theirs around mine. How easy it was for me to assume patterns were meaningless, right up until they weren't. I still take the bus sometimes. I still notice faces. But I don't ignore that feeling anymore when something seems off. What scares me most isn't the idea that he meant to harm me. It's the possibility that he was simply watching, waiting, matching my routine until I noticed, and then disappearing the moment I did. Sometimes I wonder if he moved on to someone else, someone who never changed buses, someone who never paid attention, someone who never realized how closely their life was being followed. I don't know what his intentions were. I don't know if I ever will. But I know this. I learned at 16 years old that feeling safe and being safe are not the same thing, and that sometimes the scariest encounters are the ones that never fully reveal themselves. As more time passed, I started replaying specific moments in my head. Not the obvious ones, but the small details I'd ignored at the time. The way he never looked surprised to see me. The way his timing always felt intentional rather than accidental. The way he never hesitated, like he already knew where I would be standing. I began questioning my own memory, wondering if there had been other moments I hadn't noticed yet. Moments where he might have been nearby without me realizing it. I started taking different routes to school, different buses, different tram stops, and every time I did, I waited to see if someone would adjust with me. No one ever did. That should have been comforting. Instead, it made me uneasy, because it meant that whatever pattern existed before had ended cleanly. Too cleanly. I stopped using TikTok for a while after that. Every time I opened the app, I found myself checking profile views instead of watching videos, looking for an account without a picture, looking for something familiar. Even now, when I stand at a bus stop, I pay attention to where people come from. I notice how long they wait. I notice who looks around and who doesn't. I notice who leaves when the bus arrives and who stays behind. That experience changed the way I move through the world. Not in a dramatic way, but in a quiet, permanent one. I learned that danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it blends into routine. Sometimes it wears normal clothes. Sometimes it waits patiently, matching your life step by step until you finally notice. And sometimes the scariest part isn't knowing what someone wanted, It's never knowing if they stopped watching